Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Victor, of Cars Jubilee, in my Ioniq 5. Sorry, it's still hard switching back and forth. It's gonna get easier, I hope. Anyways, today we're back for the 5-month update. Yeah, it's been 5 months of ownership with my Ioniq 5, almost half a year, or we're really moving. But anyways, so what's been new? Well, the very first thing, as you may or may not have realized, is over-the-air updates finally went live. And I got mine a couple weeks back, and I do have a video if you want to check it out, where I show you what that process looked like. Now, before expanding on this even more, I feel like by now we've probably proven the going theory that indeed the only people getting over-the-air updates currently are probably people like myself who updated the cars in April, but then did not do that May update. If you did the May update, then you already have the most up-to-date software, so you don't need an over-the-air update. Now, the only thing I can't confirm quite yet is what happens to people that were running software even before April. So if you're running pre-April software, let us know in the comment section below if you've seen an over-the-air update and if that patch pushes you all the way to the May update. Otherwise, if you've been sitting with pre-April update software and you haven't seen anything, my guess is that over-the-air update patch was only to get you from April to May, so you'll probably have to do the May update yourself. And I'll list my current software, navigation, and firmware numbers somewhere over here, so you can take a look and see if yours matches there. And I believe this should be for all of North America. But really, I gotta give Hyundai props. They were true to their word. They provided over-the-air updates. It took about 2 months since our manual update to see this finally come through, but it's here. And the hope is that I'll never have to do another manual update ever again. And, that's a very welcome thought, especially if you know how my previous manual update went, and I'll post the link to that video somewhere here. What else is new? Well, we've been having a bit of a heat wave here in Philadelphia for the past 1 or 2 weeks. Temperatures range anywhere from 90 degrees Fahrenheit to close to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. But in the car, since this car sits outside on the driveway or, out on the street most of the day when I'm working, the temperature sensors have been showing anywhere from 100 degrees Fahrenheit, even up to 105 Fahrenheit. I think I may have even seen 110 degrees Fahrenheit. So really, the car has just been baking in the sun. And what has that meant for my Ioniq 5? Well, my Ioniq 5 has actually really struggled. I do a lot of short trips, meaning 15 to 20 minutes of driving in mostly local roads. So I'm doing stop signs, I'm doing stoplights, and if it's pretty slow moving, the car doesn't really get up to speed more than, 20, 30 miles an hour. And what's been happening is it feels like this battery is just heat soaked, meaning it's sitting in the sun, soaking up the sun, and when I go those 15, 20 minutes, it's not really cooling down. So number one, my efficiency is terrible. I get about 2 miles per kilowatt on some of those drives. And then number two is, again, because I'm starting it, shutting it off, starting it, shutting it off at very, very short distances, it doesn't go away. It just stays that way. Now, on longer drives, if I'm driving 30 minutes, get up to highway speed, it's definitely cooling down. I can see it. I can see that estimated range loss kind of returning back to normal. But otherwise, I'm getting 2 miles per kilowatt of efficiency, and I'm seeing the screen say I'm going to lose about 60 to 70 miles of range if I continue to drive, which is crazy because as an EV buyer, I knew about winter range loss. Everyone talks about it. It's in all the articles. It's in all the videos, but barely anyone talks about summer range loss, hot weather range loss. And at least based on my current experience, it's going to be worse than my winter range loss. Meaning, at the current efficiency that I'm seeing, if I drive every single day in these kinds of conditions, I might only get 150 miles of range. Even in the winter, at the worst, I was getting at least 200, more in many cases 250 miles of range. So what that means is if you live somewhere with a super hot climate, super sunny climate, somewhere like Arizona, and your car stays outside, then you may want to rethink it because you're going to see similar conditions to what I'm seeing right now just for a week or two. And that means every single time you drive, the car is going to be completely heat soaked in terms of the battery, and you're going to get just absolutely terrible efficiency. So that was really something interesting that I just hadn't experienced until now, and I've seen people post about it, where they're saying, hey, is this normal to see this kind of range loss with really, really hot temperatures? And yeah, I have to confirm it with my kind of efficiency that I'm seeing. It's pretty crazy. But again, luckily for me, that's not my climate all year round. It's more of an anomaly here to get those kinds of temperatures. So that's why we're calling it a heat wave, because we're not used to it. So in typical conditions, I can get 330, 340, 350 miles of range, no problem. But at least for the past 2 weeks, I'm lucky if I'm going to get even 200. Now, what else is new? Well, this isn't really new per se, but it's kind of new for me, and that's being able to appreciate this car from the outside. Now, if you saw, I did a little bit of drag racing between my two EVs, this one and my new GV60 Performance, and I got to spend time behind the wheel of the GV60 Performance or outside, and I just got that rare chance to look at my car from the outside. And the timing was perfect. It was dusk, the sun was setting, so all the lights were on, that light bar in the back was on, and man, I didn't realize how good this thing looks, because it's got this kind of dark shade to it. Mine is the Shooting Star matte paint color, and the body lines are super defined, but at dusk, man, this thing looked sinister. It looked villainous, but in a really, really good way. And it kind of made me remember how much I loved just the way this thing looks. Sorry, GV60, you're a great looking car, but not quite like this one. So really, I get it. I get why so many people want to buy this car. It's because it just looks amazing. And that brings me to another update for Ioniq 5s in general, and that's that the SE standard range is now available, and I believe is actually selling at dealerships, if you can find one. And the crazy part about that is you get the same looks, you get pretty much everything the same as the standard SE, just a different battery size. But even the SE has a ton of the same things that I get in my Limited. You still get the same screens, this cool steering wheel, the same regen system, the same drive mode system. I mean, the crazy part is how much you get and at what price. So the MSRP is just over $39,000, but if you factor in the tax credits, $7,500 off of that, then in the US market, you can get one for about $32,000 to $33,000. And, that's about the price of a well-equipped Honda CR-V nowadays. But it's crazy because you can get this car for that price with the same exterior looks. And this thing looks crazy, but you don't have to pay, $100,000 for a crazy looking car. Now you only have to pay about $33,000. So I think that's huge news for EV buyers that have been kind of cornered into buying something that's in the $50,000 or $60,000 range. Well, now all of a sudden, if you want this car, you can get it in the 30s. And the final highlight that I want to kind of go over is HDA2. Now, if you've driven this car or if you've seen the reviews, everyone says HDA2 or even HDA is amazing. And it is. That's what I felt when I first started driving this car. Now, my issue was I didn't know how efficient HDA2 was, because in my mind, I felt, what if I am able to drive this car more efficiently? If that's the case, then I don't really want to use HDA2 because it's just wasting my range. But anyways, fast forward a little bit, and I started playing around with auto regen. And there's going to be a link up here to those videos if you're interested. But auto regen is essentially using the same sensors, using the same camera to figure out how to adjust regen braking for you. And what I've come to realize, or what I think is happening, is that those two systems, HDA2 and the auto regen system, are kind of the same when it comes to braking. Now with HDA2, you turn it on and there's no regen gauge. You can't tell what level you're in. You can't tell what it's doing. But if you turn auto regen on, you'll see that gauge moving up and down, just depending on what's ahead of you. And you can kind of guess what level it's initiated. And it's really cool because it'll do the braking for you based on the car hit. Now, obviously not to a stop, but again, if you want more details, watch those videos. But the short version of it is that I believe HDA2 is indeed very efficient, because it is using your regen system and it is varying it as needed between all the different levels to make sure that you'll stop in time, but to also make sure that you're driving efficiently. So pretty much anytime I get on the highway now, especially if there are clear roads, I just turn on HDA2 and sit back and relax, because I know it's going to get me pretty good efficiency numbers. And I think that's a really, really important fact, because I don't know if all of those adaptive cruise systems on other EVs do the same thing. If they're not using the regen braking, well, then that's kind of a waste. So I'm hoping all the other cars or other EVs in this segment are doing the same thing. Sorry, so there is one more thing, and I feel like I have to mention it here, and that's the proposed changes to the federal EV tax credit for the US market, where currently our Ioniq 5s qualify for a $7,500 tax credit. Now, I just posted a video maybe just a few days ago. I literally woke up that morning at 6 a.m., was on my phone, saw all these news articles hitting my news feed, and they were all about this new proposed bill. So I did a quick search on the Ioniq 5 forums, and at least on the main forum, I couldn't find any discussion about it. So it made me think, are people just not aware? And so I immediately went and posted that video. And you know, essentially all those articles that I referenced, they're just trying to summarize the actual document. But what they're doing essentially is interpreting it on their own. And let's say you give this document to 100 people in the same room. You're probably going to get 100 different interpretations of that document just because of how complex it is. So I just wanted to urge all of you guys that are waiting on a car, on a wait list, please, please, please do your own homework, do your own research, and get a better understanding of what's going on with this proposed bill if it passes. Please figure out what it's going to mean for you and your upcoming EV purchase. Now, some interpretations tell us that we have time, that you have until December 2022 to get some kind of purchase contract in writing stating that you will be buying the car, and then technically as long as the car arrives sometime in 2023, that you'll still be able to claim this tax credit. But there are also different interpretations that say, no, as soon as this bill is signed, that's it. Bye-bye Ioniq 5 EV tax credit. And some people think this bill could be signed within weeks. Others think, no, this bill is going to get modified and changed before it gets signed. And yet some people still think that the Ioniq 5 could qualify for the full tax credit or maybe part of the tax credit. There is one really interesting thing that I think stands out, and that's whether or not the Ioniq 5 is going to qualify as a SUV or as a sedan, because as a sedan, there's a limit where the tax credit is only available for vehicles that are $55,000 or less. SUVs have a higher limit where you can buy up to an $80,000 vehicle and still get the tax credit. Now, if it's labeled a sedan, well, this car right here, this Ioniq 5 all-wheel drive limited, is immediately eliminated from eligibility because MSRP was, I think, $56,000, $57,000. So automatically, if this bill passes in its current state, regardless of all the other interpretations of the other parts of the bill, if it passes in its current state, the all-wheel drive limited will not be part of the tax credit anymore. So definitely something to think about. So do you want the truth, the real truth? Well, I don't think anyone can say for sure what's going to happen. I definitely can't say for sure what's going to happen. I have no idea. All I can do is speculate, and that's what everyone else is doing, including all these news articles and news outlets. They're speculating on what they think will happen or what they think this bill is saying. But what does that mean for you? Well, you have options. You can sit and wait, or you can go out there proactively and try to find your car ASAP. Now, I'm not saying go out there and pay a crazy markup for the car right now, but I just feel like as a possible Ioniq 5 buyer, you need to be aware of the situation and be able to weigh the options yourself to figure out financially what makes the most sense for you. So that kind of sums it up or wraps it up for my Ioniq 5. Now you're going to see a lot of new head-to-head videos between my Ioniq 5 and my GV60. So again, if you guys have any specific content that you're curious about for me to compare, definitely let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise, looking forward to seeing you guys at the 6-month update as well as some other videos that I'll throw in here and there for the Ioniq 5, including one really important one, which is why I decided to keep this one and not sell it. That should be coming pretty soon. So thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.